Last night here at 10 o'clock, we introduced you to some of the families who had to give up their ancestral land so they could be flooded behind a dam named Fontana, which powered the plant where they worked on the nuclear bombs that ended World War II.
And while patriotism powered the people who were forced to abandon their homes, some of them took it even further to the front lines. Fox 8's Michael Hennessy joins us again. Michael, some went by choice, some went by act.
And Neil, Katie, the Selective Training and Service Act of 1940, it required all men between the ages of 21 and 45 to register for the draft. It was the very first peacetime draft in the history of the United States. But when war came calling, some of the men who had unknowingly contributed to the first atomic bomb in the history of the world volunteered their lives for their country.
As a 17-year-old, it was traumatic.
For the last 2 years of her high school career, Helen Vance knew her family's time was ticking.
Pearl Harbor was bombed on December the 7th. December the 8th, the World War II was declared. And also Roosevelt mentioned that they would build a dam to make electricity for an aluminum company in Tennessee.
Before moving day, her brother became a midshipman.
Well, on January the 2nd, they were in there with bulldozers ready to start the dam that quick.
We were the children of these people that had survived a really traumatic time in history.
Judy Carpenter's father pulled double duty.
He had worked on the dam before he went into the military, and all of his military records specify that he is from the community or a place called Japan.
He was one of 4 sons who went to fight in World War II, leaving behind families living in a country ruled by rationing.
Every resource was going to this war effort. This was World War II.
Part of a unit of 120 men from North Carolina, several of them from Graham County. He was on a ship called the USS Achilles in November of 1944.
We knew that he was on a ship that was hit by a kamikaze plane.
He'd been ordered into the underbelly of the ship, but as he stopped to see the Japanese circling overhead, one of them took a dive into their deck.
He said it just exploded and gas went everywhere. And he said it was absolutely horrible. He said the boys were on their feet, still running, flesh falling off their body. And he, of course, jumped ship.
Vance's father had already served in a world war, the first one.
He worked at Fontana, ran the Jack Hanna Army, worked at different things, and ended up being the cement mixer when they poured the dam.
His second discharge came from the dam in February of '44. His next undertaking was redeployment.
We lived on that same farm over 100 years. And it's hard to leave it. Especially for my father, because his father was born there and died there. My father was born there.
To the government, that land and legacy were worth about $8,000. And he took part of it east of Bryson City, North Carolina, where his sister lived in Silva.
And where we left about 60 or 80 acres, we had to buy 1 acre.
So this is the last family that left Japan. There was a lady named Callie Pilkington that lived here. And she was the last holdout. She was an old lady, and she just was not going to leave.
When the TVA people came to purchase her farm, she said that dam is going to be the ruination of this here country.
The workers went 24/7 for about 3 years, all of them oblivious to the impact the dam they were building and the impending waters propelling people away would have on the war.
Everything happened so fast. And see, the war was going on, we was having to find a place to move and building the dam and all that. They didn't talk about what they did.
They knew it was for energy. Everything else was theory. And as the water-creating Fontana Lake climbed,
The aluminum was for the airplanes. That was the assumed reason for the great need of electricity.
about 40 miles northwest, as the crow flies.
Oak Ridge, Tennessee, of course, was the site that had been chosen because of its location in the mountains. It was in a protected area.
Manhattan Project engineers had scrambled to build a town to accommodate not only 30,000 workers, but 3 groundbreakers.
A lot of the people that were living and working in Oak Ridge, Tennessee didn't know what they were doing there.
They were measuring different methods to enrich uranium, produce plutonium, and a graphite reactor.
Sometimes great sacrifice has to happen to achieve greater things.
Those who knew were so few, they didn't include the second most powerful person in the country.
FDR had died in April of 1945, just a month before Germany was defeated. His vice president was Harry Truman. Harry Truman apparently knew nothing about the atomic bomb until he became president. It was that secret.
In July 1945, the Truman-led United States successfully tested one 210 miles south of Los Alamos, New Mexico, under the code name Trinity.
We knew something secret was going on, but had no idea what it was.
And on August 6th, 1945, the second of three made history in Hiroshima.
And a few days later, a second atomic bomb was dropped on Nagasaki, and that ended the war. Japan surrendered.
And while the families drove off from their lands for the final time, they did so with a promise that they'd be able to drive back. We're going to talk about what's become known as the Road to Nowhere back here tomorrow night at 10. Katie?